Hi guys, I'm Greg.
Hi guys, I'm Andrew.
Andrew is from the Movie Source channel, where the sources of movies all stem from, and he's twitter.com/agor711. That's his name and his favorite restaurant. Many weeks ago, Andrew finished Iron Fist. I finished it a couple weeks ago, but I got really sick, so I couldn't review it, because I wanted to make sure I had a little bit of my mental capacity, ready to talk about a whole fucking show. Anyway, let's kick this off. Iron Fist Season 1. Andrew, what's your general consensus on this show?
It definitely was not my favorite of the Marvel Netflix shows. That being said, that's a very high standard, obviously, but that being said, I still did enjoy it. I'd say some of my biggest complaints, if I had any, I would have liked a little more of the origin of the backstory, maybe of like Kunlun. I would have liked a little better of the action scene, some of the editing and on the hand-to-hand combats. It felt a little bit like Taken 3, just choppy editing, edit. You could tell Finn Jones just is not a good fighter in real life.
That's probably my biggest issue with this.
And I mean, like, you watch a show like Daredevil, they do have an advantage. They can put a mask on him so they can hide Charlie Cox under there, you know? Yeah. So I'm hoping at some point, because I want to see him in that traditional Iron Fist costume where he's got the mask on, and I feel like at that point, that's when we're going to get the greatest, martial artist in the Marvel Cinematic or Netflix universe, rather.
I like the show. I was honestly like, why is this such a low rating on Rotten Tomatoes? Mm-hmm. And I've heard a lot of people on YouTube especially bash the show. I don't think it's a bad show. I thought it was a really good show, actually. Here's the thing. There's some there's common complaints I do agree with, especially like if we talk about the fight scenes. You know, with Jessica Jones and Luke Cage not having the craziest action, that's okay. But, you know, when you have Daredevil and then you got Kung Fu Master Iron Fist, it's such like television flashy trick editing of cutting the camera as much as you can. Constantly, oh, we gotta replace Finn Jones with his stunt double. My biggest issue with this is he just doesn't look like he can really fight. Even in the shots where he's just kind of practicing the shots, you can clearly tell it's him. He looks like a white dude that was hired 6 months of Kung Fu lessons and like, go film.
No, I agree. There was one scene where I did actually really like his fighting style. It was the scene where he came in with Joy and he had to like protect her. And he, like, you see it was not reminiscent, but it was a little lookalike of the hallway scene with Daredevil where he's coming in and like just hitting things away. That scene was pretty cool. I mean, again, still some edits in there, but definitely better than some of the other ones. I also like the one where he's kind of fighting with the drunken guy. That was kind of cool,
You know, that guy was actually the original runner-up for Iron Fist.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah.
Interesting. I'm gonna look at that scene differently now when I watch it.
Louis Tan, he played Zhao Cheng. Okay, yeah, Zhao Cheng. I love that character. I thought he was a badass character. He had the drunken boxing fighting technique. See, that dude looked like he could fight, right? Because that was a cool fight. The whole fight was really cool. Danny Rand does what he can in that fight, but part of what made that fight so cool was that character, that actor. But what helped him a lot was he looked like he could legit fight.
Right.
You know, whereas anytime Finn Jones moves, he's like, anytime he moves, even if he's practicing, even the scene where he's like showing off weapons.
Yeah,
with Colleen Wing, I'm like, you look like you're kind of uncomfortable with this.
Yeah, no, definitely. But Colleen Wing, on the other hand, she was incredible.
Oh, Colleen Wing was awesome.
She was my favorite character on the show by far, and like her scenes in that Wolverine style underground fighting scene that was in the under a bridge in New York. I loved all those scenes. Like, when I'm watching her fighting technique, her hand-to-hand combat, because ever since you turned me on to IP, man, I'm obsessed with just, like, really good hand-to-hand combat. Watching, like, the Colleen Wing scenes, like, watching her, I'm like, this girl she's a legit fighter. I believe her when she's fighting.
She was my favorite character of the whole show.
Definitely.
Let's get into the plot now, all right? One thing that I was thinking about this show is like, okay, yeah, the first few episodes, they fucking move slow. But I kind of liked it, honestly.
Yeah, they had to build up the characters.
Because the show is kind of a slow burn. I wasn't obsessed with the show Kung Fu with David Carradine, but that was like, I don't know, I'm like, well, it was a Kung Fu character. It makes sense that it would be like kind of a slow burn type of tale. While I feel like it's much easier to say the distinct style between the other MCU shows in the Netflix catalog, I feel like one of the styles that I feel very present is that it's a slow burn. You know, so the first few episodes really they build up everything for a long time. Finn Jones
He's a little one-dimensional.
He's a little too one-dimensional.
I'm Danny Rand.
I'm Danny Rand. I'm the destroyer with the iron fist.
It's like, I wanted to have a little fun with this guy. I'm not saying he has to crack jokes, you know, like Deadpool or anything, but I wanted to have a little fun with this character.
He's always in this tone.
Yeah.
It's a very specific personality. Yeah. Even when I'm mad, I'm gonna feel this rage inside me.
We need to stop that deal, all right? We need to stop it.
Because the first couple episodes, I'm like, I don't know why everyone hates this guy. Like, honestly, the first couple episodes, I think he's an okay actor. For this one, I really liked him in Game of Thrones. Here, there just seemed to be a lack of true depth to his performances. Definitely. You look at the performances of Charlie Cox in Daredevil, or Mike Coulter in Luke Cage, or
Kristen Ritter.
Kristen Ritter,
Jessica Jones.
Kristen Ritter, Jessica Jones.
Yeah.
It's not a I hate women thing, I just forgot her name. There's so multi-layered, dimensional performances.
Definitely.
And the writing sets up Danny Rand to have that. To be this guy with trauma, also with this boyish kind of wonder of returning to the city because he's like a boy again when he returns home, but has all this experience of Kunlun. His performance just doesn't have that level, like you don't feel that real history, you don't feel those real emotions of pent up rage inside and everything.
Yeah, one certain flashback they showed so many different times. The mom going up through the airplane, I mean, they must have shown that at least like 5, 6, 7 times. It was like, okay, I get it. The mom's gone. And I get it. They were setting up moments of what he was thinking at the time, but at a certain point they kept showing, I was like, I got it. The mom goes through the top of the plane, so. Because
it would take out time, and then it was there were times in the first few episodes where you're just like, we get it. Let's move it along.
I will say one of the complaints I'm hearing a lot, and I mean, I wouldn't say I had it in my review on my channel, but there's too many corporate scenes, too much focus on the whole corporate side of it, and I didn't mind that, you know, as long as the scenes were interesting, I didn't mind the corporate side, because if you look back at Daredevil, a lot of the scenes are in the courtroom. You know, we get to see him be a lawyer, we get to see that other side of his personality. In Jessica Jones, we get to see her being a private investigator and doing her job. And same thing with Luke Cage. We get to see him running a bar, you know, in Jessica Jones and stuff like that. So I like seeing the you know, the business side of the characters. So as long as they keep it interesting in those scenes and it's pertaining to the plot.
You see, I totally agree with that. But there's also this flip side to me that feels like the corporate stuff. I would get there with the show, where I'm like, there's a lot of there's so much corporate stuff. But the show, it's a slow burn. So eventually, whatever stuff that we thought is kind of not as important or interesting or relevant to the plot becomes an integral part. All the corporate stuff becomes an integral part to everything dealing with the hand and all this stuff. It always wrapped around to a much bigger picture. Like, by the time the show was over, I really did like it because I saw what it all got to. It's just, I can understand when you're someone who's like, I wanted to get there a little quicker on a lot of things.
Definitely.
Finn Jones is, he's doing the right notes, but he just seems like he's acting, but I could see him definitely getting better. If the physicality performance is better and his emotional depth, I could see him being better.
I think I'm definitely, I mean, just guessing, I would assume I'm going to like him with definitely a little bit more on Defenders, because just from the set pictures just and the little viral stuff we've gotten so far, everything seems to be looking really cool, and they're going up against Ellen Ripley, as we've mentioned. So that's going to be really sick. A big fan that I am is of David Wenham. I'm a huge fan. Ever since I saw him as Faramir in Lord of the Rings, I've been a huge fan of this guy, and I freaking love him as Harold Meachum. And I love the relationship between him and his son, Ward. And also too, Ward, I gotta say, I hated this character at the beginning of the show, like hated him. Just like, you dude, get out of here. By the end of the show, I really cared a lot about this character and the emotional depth that he brought to the performance, and just the emotional damage that the father creates on this guy. It's just, it was really emotional and intense for me. I was eating it up.
That actor, you feel a multi-layered performance. You feel a guy who has a lot of dimensions to him. Because he does start off as someone who's like one of the unlikable guys. But as the show progresses, you see the psychological hell he really feels like he's in. And you watch him deteriorate and come back up and then fall apart again. Like, the guy goes through a variety of craziness in this show. I felt the Meachum family, especially Harold and Ward, was one of the more interesting elements of the show. Like, you're right. You know, Harold, we find out, is for some reason, because he was brought back to life
by the hand.
By the hand, he has to stay, you know, inside this what is it, penthouse. He can't leave the penthouse, and they're gonna do things with the, you know, Rand Enterprises. But the thing with Harold and Ward, you just see that he's not just a dick. Like, you see that he has to be a dick, though. The way David Wenham does that performance, you know, the voice, the body language.
Absolutely.
You know, at times you believe, like, maybe he really does love his kids. Or he'll just use his kids if he has to, you know? The guy is such a ping pong of a character to like and dislike, but... man, is he like, he has fun with that role.
No, I agree. Like, some of those, like, more intriguing moments are, like, when him and Danny are hugging and embracing each other, and he's, like, dropped the injunction against our friend, and then moments where he's using Ward and using Joy, and, like, I hate this character, but I love this character at the same time. So that's, you know, that's the signs of a good villain. One of the other villains on the show that I really loved, all the way back from Daredevil, was Madame Gao.
This is the best. She's
awesome.
If you're, that's what I mean. Like, this show has more to offer than a rather lackluster. You see, I feel like a lot of the other characters are more interesting than Danny Rand. That's the biggest problem with the show. But I feel like there's all these other interesting characters. Right. And Madame Gao, who we've seen in other shows, this is the best we've ever gotten with her. Like, this one, we really got, like...
She's such a presence on screen.
She doesn't just show up and she's, like, intimidating Chinese old lady. Like, she has full-on scenes throughout this show, and where you really see much more depth. I think her name's Wei Ching Ho, and you get to see much more depth to Madame Gao than we've gotten before. The way you see why she's the Madame Gao. You see why she's the mastermind. Yeah. Before it's like, nah, she's just in charge, says a few cool things to, you know, Fisk or Daredevil.
She was still intimidating in those, but she had way more of a presence, obviously, in this. And also, there was a cool moment where she just threw Danny Rand out of the way with her power, whatever she had. I mean, they didn't really use it anymore after that in the show, but it was so cool just to see, like, the potential of what her power is, not only, like, psychologically, but just physically, too. She's like, she's a badass, not only, like, you know, mentally and emotionally. She's not just gonna, you know, freak you the hell out and make you scared to wake up the next day, but she can actually physically hurt you herself. She doesn't need her minions. So
that's true.
It just she really feel like, again, she joined that line of, wow, like Fisk and Purple Man. And even Cottonmouth, like, just, these are such, you know, in-depth, really good, really emotionally drawn, great characters that we hate, but we love to hate, you know what I mean?
Because while this show doesn't specifically have that one villain where it's like, this is who Iron Fist, you know, he doesn't really have that, you know, Fisk or...
Purple Man.
Fisk or Kilgrave. He doesn't have that. But I still like the villains and the antagonists that were in it throughout the show, because, you know, it's like, while Harold comes off bad in the beginning, just show I thought felt it pretty. I mean, I know in the comics, like, no, he's pretty much just a bad dude. But I feel like the show does a good job of making you kind of go, maybe he's a good guy, you know, especially early on. Especially when he has that embrace with Danny Rand when he first sees Danny. Like, that was a good scene to me.
Me personally, I always thought what ended up happening, but they kept on going, like, maybe he is good. Yeah. And, like, it kept on making me go back and forth. So they did a good job with that. And also, I liked, too, whenever he would call Ward, you'd see Frank N. Stein. So that was pretty cool. Also, too, I might be wrong, but there was a scene in when Bakuto was talking to Danny Rand. He was saying, my employer is very eager to meet you. I gotta imagine he's talking about Sigourney Weaver. I mean, that's my imagination there. Just
good call.
I mean, you know how these work. They set up universe stuff, and so... Also, too, I remember it might be in episode 12 or 13, we got a Stan Lee picture. I don't know if you caught that, too. So there's our Stan Lee cameo, you know, so that was pretty cool, too. And also, we got Claire Temple from Luke Cage and Daredevil, Jessica Jones. This is her 4th show, and I love what they're doing with the character, you know, making her stronger physically, because I think she's sick of being a damsel in distress. Yeah. You know, I liked what they were doing with her character, and obviously anytime that, you know, someone needs to be healed in a way, obviously it's good to have her. One thing I did, like, get a little puzzled by, she was talking about, I have someone who's dealt with the hand, a friend of mine, he's a lawyer across town, like, and then Danny Rand's like, okay. Not gonna call him up, not gonna just ask him. Your sole mission is to destroy the hand, and someone has actually physically fought the hand. You don't want to talk to him, ask for help, nothing, just, okay, brush it off. I just
that might be where the Defenders takes it.
No, I know, but I just would have thought that
Claire could be the one that brings them all together, the Defenders.
I could definitely see that. So, I mean, it made sense why Luke Cage is not around. We know, you know, from what happened at the end of that show, he's now in Iron Heights prison, I believe. Yeah. Jessica Jones, she's probably drunk somewhere.
Yeah.
And I mean, so
they did get an Easter egg with that too.
Oh yeah, that she's the one who took pictures of the board members.
So
she's
good when she's not drinking.
And also too, they had what's her name? Matt Murdock's Claire. What's his girlfriend? The
Karen Page?
Karen Page. They had, I think they mentioned Karen Page with an an exclusive article or something.
When he made a choice, when Danny Rand makes a choice for Rand Enterprises.
Yeah, so I like how they kind of did stuff like that, just tying all the shows back together, so that was pretty cool.
The way they use Claire Temple, I really like the way the shows use Claire Temple. They make her much more than just a cameo or plot device. Like Claire Temple, the MCU Netflix shows is like the Claire Temple show in a lot of ways, because every single series she gets a chance for her character to really grow, shed some new kind of wisdom, help out a hero with like making choices. She is evolving into someone who can actually fight. You know, and in this show, they let her stand on her own a good amount of times, like with using. She found her weapons. You know, she has weapons now.
It's like Wolverine.
Yeah. Jessica Henwick is Colleen Wing.
So cool. So
fantastic.
Good.
I remember like the first 5 episodes, I was thinking like, I find this really interesting how the most interesting character to me is the one who has the least to do with the plot right now. But whenever you cut to her and her journey, it's her getting into cage fights, helping out the kids.
It's interesting.
And that's what I mean. A lot of stuff seems like, oh, it's kind of irrelevant to the main plot, what we're watching, but it all eventually clicks together, and I like that.
And that's why I think not only making Danny Rand not one-dimensional, but also seeing is Kun Lun. I would have liked to seen that backstory, because on all the other shows, we got the backstory of how the character became the character, and I wanted to see Danny fight the dragon to see how he got his power. Just one episode layered and focused on that. See, I know we can save it for season 2, but I just would have I thought that would have been cool, because we saw in the other shows all the characters get their origin story. We did see it.
Honestly, I feel like what would have made the show work is either you do what you're talking about with really good quality. You make full-on scenes instead of like quick little snippets out of nowhere, you know? Yeah. Because that's all you get is like a quick snippet.
I want the whole thing.
You don't even get like you don't really ever get a like solid flashback scene to Kun Lun. Or if you're not going to do like any full-on scenes, then what you should do is just not show any of it.
I agree.
And then let that all be kind of like a mystery, and let it be from the stories that, you know, Danny Rand tells, or Davos. Yeah, and like when Davos talks, like people who've been to Kun Lun and like and feeling the history and imagining it, I think would have been more effective than whatever shots we got of Kun Lun, because all the shots in Kun Lun were like they didn't even matter. Like, oh, he's meditating.
The eyes of the dragon you got to see on that one shot.
And like they did have the one thing where he's getting beaten when he breaks out of the hospital, and they're cutting back to that. I'm like, see, that's like a little bit more interesting. But most of the time, like, we don't really need to ever see any of the shit they're cutting back to most of the time.
Yeah, no, and again, if they show that in season 2, I'll definitely forgive it a little more. It's just, again, just having seen the origin of the other 3 characters, and like you said, spoiling it with little snippets like that, I would have preferred that they would have just, you know, layered one episode around that. Like, even in Daredevil, they layered one full episode around Wilson Fisk, for Christ's sake, and showed how this character, like, how haunted his childhood was and what he became to be. So, I'm just saying, you got 13 hours, and you kind of did say early on it was a little bit, you know, it was a slow burn.
Well, you get good, that's what I mean, with Daredevil's origins training, you get good scenes with him and Stick and shit.
Love that stuff.
And him and his dad. And Jessica Jones, same thing. When you see what led to her, like, wanting to be a hero, then Kilgrave entered her life, and Luke Cage, you get one episode that's just a full-on Luke Cage origin story.
Exactly.
Here, they just, the flashback scenes were just not that interesting. It's to the point where I'm like, you don't give it to us, and I think it would be even more interesting if you didn't give it to us.
Also, too, literally in the last shot when we see, you know, of Kun Lun,
I finally get there and you don't even get to see it.
I'm like, but also, too, I didn't have much emotion because I haven't seen the place.
There's no investment in it.
I don't know what to feel at this point. I'm like, oh, that's sad. That sucks.
It was.
I wanted to see it, but
every time we've been there, it hasn't been there.
Yeah, exactly. If you would have built it up in the flashbacks, I would have felt like so emotionally. You know,
or at least for like who the people are really like there.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely. And we did get to see his master in that once where he's going through all the trials at Madame Gao's place, which was cool that we never see him again. So I'm like, Okay, I guess he's not in.
I like that episode idea.
Oh, I love that episode. I forgot which one it was.
Yeah, the whole tournament.
Yeah, that was really cool.
I thought that was cool. Like, I love those kung fu flourishes they throw in here. That Colleen Wing works out of a dojo, so she's like a real martial artist. And and a lot of the themes with her character are like, what does it mean to be a real martial artist? What does it mean to be a real fighter? Because, you know, she's teaching you shouldn't get in these cage matches, and you watch her story where she's getting in there and you see this violent, angry woman in there.
It was awesome.
And I love the reveal with, oh shit, she's with the hand,
that
but
a
different.
twist.
And I like what they did with the hand.
How conflicted she was too. That was great too.
I really believed that she fucking was super into Danny Rand. I loved her personality. She was funny. She had a lot. She was emotionally capable of a lot of scenes, and the woman can clearly fight.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
And I liked, even though I wasn't humongously crazy about Finn Jones's performance, I did like their relationship. When the scenes where they were together and they were talking to each other, I found myself invested. I did like their relationship. So, that was something I found myself liking in terms of Finn Jones's performance but I think like Jessica Henwick got that out of him, I feel. So it would, either way, whatever works. I did like their dynamic together, and I thought it was good. Also too, I gotta mention, I think in one of the scenes where she's fighting, I think they call her the daughter of the dragon when she's fighting. I think I believe in the comics, her and Misty Knight, form some kind of alliance. I think it was originally called Nightwing, but obviously DC had a problem with that, understandably so, and then they instead called it the Daughter of the Dragons. So I thought that was a pretty cool little Easter egg there.
Really quick, I just want to kind of wrap up what happened with Harold, because it was just so fascinating. Because when he got killed off, I was like, ah, shit, he got killed off. And that was a crazy scene when Ward just finally cracks and is like, I'm gonna fucking kill him. I'm gonna kill him. And I love that.
Oh, that was so tense.
I love that they had that in there. I loved how dark the show got with that, with him killing his own father. The show really sold me that Harold was dead, like gone, like for sure gone this time. Because he gets stabbed, he goes out, and then he drags him to a pond.
Yeah.
Like sends him underwater. Like, oh, he's definitely dead. But when Harold comes back, and I loved what they were talking about, and they made Harold really scary, because you could see like, oh my god, he's a more violent guy. And they had the story with people who've had that.
It's like Ra's al Ghul. Every time he comes back
from the Lazarus pit.
From the Lazarus pit, he comes back crazier. So it's very, very similar to that. But yeah.
But I like that touch, because that's when joy comes back to his life after he's been resurrected again.
I love that reveal too, when they see each other for the first time. That was really interesting moment. Definitely.
I thought Jessica Stroup did a great job with the role.
Right.
I believed her in every scene she was in, and she had a lot of depth to her performance. I could really feel a very specific performance built around the loss of her father. And so that's what made it a really good scene when she finally sees him again and sees that he's alive.
And also too, just adding what you said, the loss of her friend Danny, when that reveal happens too, it's just, I think you nailed it there too with him, with the M&Ms and stuff. That was such a great moment with the reveal. Like seeing her reaction, I was like, wow. That made me not hate, why didn't you just say something specific exactly? That builds up was perfect.
I could always feel like her really in this moment. The problem with what happens with her character is the writing just doesn't really give her the most interesting plot points, because everyone else's plot points serve a much bigger thing, where for most of the show she's kind of going, what the hell's really going on right now? Who the hell is this Danny Rand? Why is Danny back? What does he want? And what's going on with my brother? And I need to figure my shit out. She's not really pertaining to the plot a lot, and she becomes more essential when she finally does see that her dad's still around. In terms of plot, that was interesting, because we see Harold kill his loyal assistant over ice cream, and it was a crazy scene.
Oh, yeah.
There's some violent shit in here, when Harold's beating those
it's a Marvel Netflix show.
Yeah.
Jessica Jones, you had a guy scissors going down into his chin, going up, so
But you could tell David Wenham has such fun with this. You could tell he was having a good time making this character.
Dude, he's just a fun actor in general. Even in Van Helsing, he's my favorite character by far. Actually, I'm just a friar. He's a very, very fun character actor. He was great, and again, I think you nailed it. Just that Meachum family relate. I found it all intriguing and interesting, just how he's treating his kids, almost like as pawns, kind of like, or is it, I mean, he loves them obviously, but just he uses them also too. Whenever it serves him, you know, he's always first, but he does deep down love his kids. So, and I gotta say, my favorite line for me is, you know, when he says to Ward, you are the greatest disappointment of my life. Yeah, I love that line. He's great. Oh, and I love their dynamic. Those two actors too. They're so good together.
That was a crazy scene, especially when Joy got shot.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, what'd you think about that twist and turn at the end a little bit? Did you feel that was natural, or did you feel it was a little...
That she was like working against Danny now?
Well, yeah, because just, I felt like, and again, I got Davos, is that his name? Davos? I understood what he was like, how he was like manipulating and kind of tricking her in ways, saying this is all Danny's fault. I don't know, like it was interesting what they were trying to go there. I just didn't feel it was fully natural. I just would have liked a little more build up to that. I just kind of felt like it came out of nowhere. But I mean, I understood where they were going. It
doesn't sound like he just recently switched.
What?
It didn't sound like Davos was with him the whole, like working for the hand the whole time.
What? Yeah, no, I meant Joy, like her changing.
Oh, her like, switching that?
Yeah, like that fast.
I'm like, come on, man. Like, you can't blame Danny for your fucking dad not telling you he was alive all this time.
Yeah.
And to say her world fell apart, yeah, it was a little bit like, it's kind of a little forced plot maneuver. But I will say the Davos character I really did like.
I agree with that.
He's someone I believed, like, well, I fucking went to Kunlun.
And the way he was describing those scenes, again, made me want to see Kunlun.
And I liked his jealousy.
Absolutely. And he's not the chosen one, Danny Rand is.
Yeah.
So, no, there was
he feels more capable than Danny.
There's some great stuff there, absolutely. And I like the depth of his performance, and also I like just the emotional draw that he has, and also the back and forth he has with Danny. There's just some good plot stuff in there too. And some interesting stuff for season 2, because I don't feel like he's going to be involved in the Defenders. There's too many obviously other characters, so I feel like he's going to be more in Iron Fist season 2.
And in terms of the way the show moves, yeah, it's a slow burn, but I still thought at times it was really intense. I loved anything to do with I liked the whole tournament sequence. I thought was really cool. The villains he encounters there. I liked exploring this new side of the hand. You know, because I thought that was fascinating. Because when they were saying like we're a version of the hand, but we're different. Like, you know how there's like different types of Christianity denominations or different types of belief systems within the belief system. I thought it was interesting because the Bakudo guy was selling me on for a while that he might be a good dude, you know? He had that footage of the old Iron Fist.
Oh, that was my favorite
like Zorro
shot.
with an Iron Fist, you know?
Okay, that kind of did remind with the double Iron Fist.
The double Iron Fist.
That was so cool. I want to see him in that costume, dude. That looked awesome.
I like that twist with Colleen Wing as well, being a part of that the entire time.
She was a very interesting character.
But really falling for the target. And one thing I want to clear up too, I still like Finn Jones. Despite the fact that I feel he lacks a certain depth in a lot of the scenes, there's something about him where he is a charismatic kind of dude in his own way. It sort of reminds me of like a better version of a Taylor Lautner performance.
I'm not going to go Taylor Lautner performance, but...
a much better Taylor Lautner.
Yeah. No, I feel you. But yeah, I'll say again, I definitely did not hate him. I didn't love him as much as I wanted to. I'll say that. Having said that, like I said, I'm sure I'm going to like him a lot more in the Defenders and even Iron Fist season 2. You know, I feel like he's got to get, you know, a little bit used to this character. And I could be wrong, but this might be his first time being the lead of a show, which, you know, that's not an easy thing to do. You know, I'm not going to say it is. So, you know... And again, there were definitely moments and scenes, as I said, the relationship between him and Colleen, I felt there was a lot of emotional depth there. Even in his performance when he was, you know, trying to relate with her and their scenes together. Even his scenes with Davos, as we were talking about, I liked a lot of those scenes. I would have just liked a little more, not so much one-dimensional, and the fighting scenes got to be touched up a little. Either put a mask on or that dude's got to train more.
Well, the thing is, all these characters we've gone over have, most of them spend most of their interaction, despite, I think, like Harold and Ward spend most of their interaction with each other. A lot of these characters, they all interact with Danny Rand.
Yeah.
They all interact with Finn Jones. It's like all these other things still shine. So even though Finn Jones might not possess, like he might be one of the weaker actors on this show that he's leading.
That's true.
I still thought like the show was definitely enjoyable enough for me to easily watch all the episodes. I wasn't like, oh my god, this guy's so bad, I can't.
It's not Hayden Christensen Anakin.
No, it's definitely not that. It's like,
no, I agree
it's
with
like,
that.
dude, you just gotta go a little more authentic. You just gotta go a little deeper right now. You know?
I definitely agree with
but
that.
I even liked anything to do with the Iron Fist. That's one thing I really enjoyed about the show, of how you have to be in a certain type of state of mind in order to channel your inner chi and it comes out in his fists.
So cool.
I thought that shit was really cool.
Oh.
Despite how long it took for us to finally see a fucking Iron Fist when he breaks down that hospital door.
Yeah.
I thought that was still a cool moment for him. I still thought that was a cool.
Definitely.
The problem with that moment is you think, oh, finally the show's gonna kick into high gear, and it doesn't. Exactly. That moment was still cool when he finally gets the Iron Fist. He's challenging himself, having to like overcome all the medication that they're putting in him. It was a lot of those messages for like that kind of Eastern philosophical type of spiritual beliefs.
Yeah,
I like the way it was applied, similar to how Doctor Strange kind of does it. They do that here.
Definitely the mystical side of the universe, and definitely the show definitely got One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. That was really cool. Danny and for Ward, so that was really cool. And I also love too, again, just talking about Harold. I love how he was always one step ahead of everyone. He's like watching footage of them for everything, and then when Danny was in that crazy state, he like snuck in there. I love that scene too, by the way, where he's trying to pertain all this information. Again, being a smart character, he's like, I'm not taking for granted what this guy's, I don't care if he said I'm a dead person from 15 years ago, I'm gonna find out what this guy, he's a smart character, and that's why even if he's a villain, or you're going through the back and forth, he's interesting, you care about this character. Even when he's doing evil things, you're like, I still love this character. So like, it's kind of, I'm not gonna compare him to Joker, but just like a villain like the Joker, that's why you don't kind of care about some of the evil heinous he's creating, because he's just such an emotionally drawn character that has
totally,
and that you're just obsessed with what's going on and just so into the character.
And I like the way the plot shifts, because there's so much happening in this show. There's so much plot in this show. Harold's back from the dead, and he's secretly back from the dead and secretly kind of running things. And then there's the hand, and then there's this other side of the hand. There's Madame Gao's side, and then there's Bakudo's side of the hand. And then you got Danny Rand returning to New York, and everyone's like, holy shit, Danny Rand's back. And you got Colleen Wing's plot. Yeah. You got so many different plots. But I really thought every time they were intersecting and how it all ended together, and how it all started wrapping around like, oh, Harold's back from the dead to get out of the penthouse. He has to work with Danny Rand. And then the hands colliding with each other, allowing time for, because that's when Danny Rand also got to learn how his hand could heal.
That was great stuff. I like that.
Yeah,
with Bakudo teaching him. Yeah,
Bakudo was cool. I like the sword fight too with Colleen Wing and Bakudo.
Oh, that was a good fight. Anytime Colleen Wing was in a fight, I was totally convinced that Jessica Henwick was doing those scenes like herself. It felt very authentic. Yeah. And again, you didn't get those quick cut. It was just very noticeable when you watch her fight scenes and when you watch Finn Jones's fight scenes.
And another appearance too, so we make sure to throw it in there, is from Carrie-Anne Moss, Jerry Hogarth, who we saw in Jessica Jones. I thought she did a really cool job. I like how they used her too. She was more than just, oh, we're going to hire the lawyer that people are aware of from Jessica Jones. She was an actual character who had a history with Danny Rand.
And with Harold Meachum.
Yeah. So. And those scenes were great. I thought she handled all that really well. I felt her choice to help Danny Rand made sense. The bargain she was doing, it made sense for her character to be there, and they wrote her in. It made sense.
I completely agree. The only thing that would have made her character more badass is if they put her in black clothes and sunglasses.
Ooh, yes.
That would have been
like
awesome.
Neo.
Yeah. But, also her being there, I thought she was going to teach Finn Jones, how to do the jump up kick with the, in slow-mo, dodge bullets. I thought she was going to. But that being said, you're right. She was an interesting character. I thought also, too, that back history that she had with Harold Meachum, and just, like, she's trying to steer Danny Rand in the right way to get his company back. I liked all that stuff. That was really interesting stuff, and I liked the performance by Carrie-Anne Moss, and I like her. I actually like her a lot as Jerry Hogarth. I think she's a very interesting character, and again, I like how it doesn't feel forced. Like you said, it's not that, oh, there's the lawyer from Jessica Jones, cool. It's like, no, it makes sense why she's here. She's got to help Danny get the company back, and she's also got a back history with Harold Meachum, so it makes total sense. And she's not just there to help Danny Rand. She's got motivation too. She wants a part of working there too. So I like that part of it too.
Her choice made perfect sense. Yeah. For her to get involved.
Exactly.
Hey, look, so there's a billion things we could talk about. We know we've been talking for a long time. I appreciate everyone stuck around. If I were to give an overall consensus for this, I would say this show is really good. I would say that. I would say it goes from really good to moments of great, but it was easy to watch. I didn't think it was a hard show to sit through at all.
And you were cool with 13 episodes?
I was cool with 13 episodes.
Okay, and I will say this too, like, I really enjoyed it too. Of all the Netflix shows, it was definitely a little bit on the lower side, but that being said, I still really enjoyed it. There was a lot of moments in there that I thought were really cool. Specifically that double Iron Fist thing, that was my favorite moment, or one of them. One other thing I did want to tell you though is I believe The Defenders is going to be 8 episodes, so that's going to be interesting to see how they go from 13 hours to 8. But obviously you got your 4 characters in this right now. 4 characters, you know, that we've grown accustomed to, but it's going to be interesting how they set it up for the fan who has not seen any of the shows. We got to kind of set up a little bit of backstory for all these characters for people who have not seen any of these shows and don't know any of these characters. It's kind of like people first seeing The Avengers. Joss Whedon made it in a way where like you didn't need to see the other films in a way, so I'm kind of be curious to see if that's how they do it with Defenders. I'm looking forward to Defenders now.
This show like also really contributed to, holy shit, you know, I do want to see Danny Rand with the Defenders. I'll still say that, like, after watching this show, I'm like, I think the idea of putting Danny Rand with the Defenders is pretty cool. I would love to see this guy, specifically Finn Jones as Danny Rand, interact with those guys.
Yeah.
I feel like if I watch any of the other shows, I'm probably going to hate Iron Fist a little more. But because this was like, I saw the other shows a while ago, and I just saw Iron Fist, I feel like the comparison, because when I think about the quality of filmmaking and storytelling and performances all around on those other shows, they are significantly better overall. As its own thing, I still really enjoyed it. It got me excited for the crossover, and yeah, it's a really cool show.
I agree. It was really cool, and I'm looking forward to Defenders as well and Iron Fist Season 2.
Subscribe to The Real Rejects Movie Source channel, Agor711 on Twitter, and shout out to Finn Jones. I still think you're pretty.